Good evening, and thank you guys for joining me. My name is Danielle Fanfair, and I teach professional women, groups, and business leaders how to move from confusion to clarity, understanding the truth of who they really are. And through my classes, through one on one experiences, through teaching opportunities, digital opportunities like this one, I teach folks how to understand who they truly are and then bring the fullness of who they truly are to their work, their passions, their relationships through strategies for self-care, communication, giving and receiving feedback, making big life decisions, understanding childhood memories differently, and so much more. We are in day 32 of the 40 Days of Superpower Community, and you are watching Superpower Sundays, a live broadcast that I host every Sunday night at 10 p.m. that is designed to be a resource for you as you prepare for the week ahead, a way to supercharge your superpowers. In other words, a way to name, know, and plan to contribute your unique value and your unique power wherever you have to go tomorrow, whether that's in the home or whether you actually have your own business that you're operating, whether that is you going and contributing your gifts to another company. Wherever you are, there are some unique superpowers, some unique ways that you contribute. There's an invaluable contribution that you make. And when we get out of bed in the morning knowing that, our whole energy is different. And when we actually plan the ways that we will contribute that, our whole lives begin to change. So, Superpower Sunday started as a result of me really wanting to empower folks every week with some very specific ways to prepare and plan, like I said. And now it has become a live broadcast that is now sponsored by two generous sponsors. And so this live broadcast is brought to you by a wonderful pharmacist named Dr. Farrell Boyance McLean. And she has been a pharmacist for over 30 years and a bioenergetic pharmacist for over 18 years. She's opened what's called Bioenergetic Works. And bioenergetic science is simply a science that teaches you how to access the energy levels of your organs. So what she does is she hooks up these sensors to your acupressure points, and then she reads the frequency of your organs using radio signals, and then she'll let you know if your organs are normal, if they are weak, or if they're in stress. Now, the other thing she can do is, did you know that every medication, every substance has an electromagnetic frequency code? She can read the code of your medications and read the frequency of your organs and tell if your medication is actually working with your body or if you need a new care plan. This technology is all over the world, but she's the only bioenergetic pharmacist in the United States, and she has generously sponsored this broadcast. And if you wait till the end, if you stay all the way to the end, she sponsored a giveaway that I'll be sharing at the end, okay? So we're gonna get started. As you guys may know, I teach a curriculum called Go From Confusion to Clarity. That curriculum begins by exploring what's called the Enneagram of Personality. The Enneagram is about a 6,500-year-old sacred map that follows 9 paths of human nature. That is 9 ways that human beings cope with early childhood trauma by creating a strategy for being okay, a strategy for getting the love that they want, a strategy for avoiding that trauma called personality. When we understand our personality as a strategy, we begin to remove and no longer need our personality and really unearth our true essence. And from there, we can make decisions that really reflect the lives, the abundant lives that we're supposed to be living, that we were designed and called to live, okay? And so the way the Enneagram works is, when we were young kids, you see this in kids all the time, that adorable fearlessness, this desire to be connected, to be nurture, this certainty that they will have all they need that makes them adorable, affectionate, unself-conscious. And then about 2, 3, 4, 5, early childhood trauma teaches us that the world is not always a positive place, that life is just not fair. People die, we move, we have unexpected experiences that just take the wind out of us. And that beautiful childlike essence, those virtues, those unapologetic qualities, we start to learn how to protect, we start to learn how to withdraw, we start to learn how to hide through our personality. We start learning how to pretend. We start learning how to put on armor so that we can survive, so that that initial trauma never happens again. And so I explore that with my clients and with my classes and begin the journey of coming up against personality and understanding, what do we need to stop? What do we need to start? What do we need to keep? What is true to me? What do I agree with? And then what do I not agree with? Then what does my best self look like? What did I look like before my parents met? Before geography and race and gender and culture and time period and generation, before all of those categories start to influence who I am, who was I before my parents met? What did I look like? What were the essences that made up the soul that animates my limbs? That's what we explore when we do our Enneagram work. And so I'm beginning a series that explores each Enneagram type and how each Enneagram type can love themselves and others better through boundaries. Dun, dun, dun. I know that sounds immediately like a tricky subject. Oh, Lord, she's about to talk about boundaries. She's about to talk about how we need to tell everybody no, who we need to cut off, what we need to stop doing. That's not the point of this teaching tonight. That is not my intention. My intention is for us to get more clear about a few things. The first is getting clear about understanding our priorities and understanding our true essence. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to understand the essence of different types, and then understand the priorities of different personality types. Then we'll understand the triggers of each personality type, understanding our edges and our limitations, and noticing how we feel, and then begin to create a personal culture that honors the way that we want to live, the way that we know we should be living, the life that we know we want to live, okay? I was talking to my friend and manifestation coach. Her name is Andrea Mosley. And she said, oh, I have great boundaries. She was like, if it's not energetically positive, I engage differently. And I said, oh, may I quote you? And she said, of course. I love that term, engage differently, because that's a more graceful way to understand having boundaries. You know, many relationship books will tell you who to talk to and who to not talk to. They'll tell you where to go and where not to go. They'll create these cut and dry rules for living that just aren't consistent with the way that we naturally operate in the world. There are some places that we have to go. There are some people that we have to see. So cutting people off and just not talking to them and saying no all the time is just not feasible. Okay, point blank, it's just not feasible. However, there is a way that we can notice when the energy is not a positive exchange and engage differently. And we'll talk about how each personality type has an opportunity to do that throughout this series. Tonight, I'm focusing on the personality types that mainly rely on their gut as the way that they understand information, their gut intelligence. We have 3 intelligences: our head, our hearts, and our gut intelligence. And the personality types are all arranged within these intelligences. And so tonight we will be talking about the gut people, okay? So, dominant type 8 on the Enneagram. And if you guys are familiar with the Enneagram, let's go. And if you're not, go to my website, www.daniellefanfair.com. Click on my blog. There are a few entries that will really help you get up to speed on what the Enneagram is and what it looks like, okay? www.daniellefanfair.com. So, dominant type 8s. These are folks who are willful, strong, unafraid of conflict. They are the protectors. They are the strong advocates. They are the fighters. They are the folks who start the protests and the boycotts. They are the folks, without these people, stuff would not change. They are the ones who stand up and say, that's not right. I'm not doing that. I don't appreciate that. And we know when dominant type 8s stand up and say something, we know something needs to change. When they walk into a room, they are substantial. We know who they are. Now, dominant type 8s, at the end of the day, when they are loved, rooted, rested, and aligned, they just are these champions of the truth, and they have a youthful innocence that just permeates. And they're very generous, playful, tender. If you're underneath the span of their wing, they love you. It's nothing that they won't do for you. They're not scary. They are strong, and they truly desire for everybody to live in this common truth, okay? Now, they fear being violated or betrayed, and they really want to be protected. They really want to be safe. And so when they are triggered, they move in a sense of vengeance and with a strong desire to protect themselves and to protect those around them through their toughness and through their force, which makes them powerful advocates, powerful activists, okay? Now, when they're triggered and they're stressed out, they can be unnecessarily adversarial, using conflict as a way of gauging other people's intentions, okay? I love dominant type 8s because I usually am mad with them and I agree with them. So I want to encourage you, if you're in a relationship with the 8, to stay in the fight with the 8, stand your ground, state your case clearly, and make your intentions known to them. So dominant type 8s have a very interesting relationship with boundaries, because dominant type 8s are very willing to draw boundaries. They're very willing to say no. If you're cheating at the game, dominant type 8 will take their ball and go home. Like, dominant 8s are not, they don't second guess their priorities or their standards. So my encouragement for 8s is, because 8s are in the gut, or that instinctual triad, which means they understand the world through their gut primarily. That means that their go-to emotion is primarily anger. And so boundaries for the dominant type 8 is really a form of self-care, understanding that their triggers can trigger anger, and if that anger is not constructively communicated, expressed, and processed, it can create some inner turmoil, some ailments that can show up as disease, okay? So dominant type 8s understand that your priority and your essence is to seek the truth and to move in this joyful, exuberant, youthful innocence, right? Now, here's what you need to understand. If you have a dominant type 8 in your life, or you are resonating with the dominant type 8, understand your triggers. Injustice is a big trigger for type 8s. If they see people who are living in a way that is not fair, that is unjust, that's a huge trigger. Makes them angry. Lying, anyone who is lying, the dominant type 8, they have a deep gut intelligence, and so they can sense dishonesty. They know when someone is lying. It makes them very angry. Flakiness, if you say you're going to do something and you don't do it. When people prey on weak people and it's obvious that you're picking on someone who is not your own size. These are the triggers of the dominant type 8. So it's important for the dominant type 8 to understand the environments, the individuals, and the things that contain these triggers as a way of examining and exploring boundaries. And then here are the edges, are some opportunities to grow when you've reached your capacity. Dominant type 8s can ask for help. They can schedule downtime, and they can create room for joyful play in their lives with people that they love, okay? And so when you talk about boundaries, when you talk about creating protective areas around your priorities, the dominant type 8, my encouragement to you is to constantly be assessing how you interact and engage with your triggers on a daily basis, and whether or not that interaction is essential, okay? Dominant type 8s, you may have a janky cousin that lies at every holiday meal. If you know you're going to see janky cousin, and janky cousin's going to be lying about being with Diddy and being on a plane with Jay-Z and Beyonce, it may not be essential for you to engage in that conversation and shut him down every Thanksgiving and every Christmas meal. It may be interestingly positive for you to say, I recognize that what he's saying is BS, or I recognize what he's saying is not true, and it's time for me to go help Big Mama in the kitchen. Maybe it's some dishes I can hit or something. It's important for us to recognize the places that are triggers. If you are in a place where there are people who are being inauthentic and not telling the truth, if you're in a place where you're watching injustice and you're watching people prey on weak people, if you're in a social setting where you see that going on, it's important to assess how that makes you feel, the anger that it stirs, and is it essential to be in this place, or is there somewhere else I should be? And even if it is essential, like if this place is a workplace or a relative's house, how long should I stay and how deeply should I engage? What should I be doing with my time and my energy, my attention, which are my most valuable resources? You can always make more money. You can never make more time. So dominant type 8s and people who are in relationship with 8s, my encouragement to you, I'm not going to tell you what boundaries to draw. I'm not going to tell you what to do. I can't tell you what to do. I don't know your life. However, knowing your triggers, lying, injustice, preying on the vulnerable, flakiness, understanding your desire is for the truth and innocence to be free and uninhibited and unharmed. Understanding this, it's time to think about the people and the places that make up your personal culture and decide how to engage them differently. Who to spend more time with that helps you to grow your priorities and grow your desires, and who to spend less time with, because your anger will stay in your body and manifest as other things if not properly and constructively expressed. So dominant type 9 is the peacemaker. These are the folks who are, just non-judgmental and self-effacing, calming. Their priority is homeostasis and harmony. They want everybody to get along. They want everybody to be happy. They want everybody to be peaceful, to have a sense of wholeness and union. They tend to go with the flow. They can be very passive at times. They tend to suppress. If the dominant type 8 expresses their anger, dominant type 9 suppress their anger because they don't want to be disconnected from people. They are these wonderful sources of love in action at their best. At their best, they are love in action. They are just these, wonderful, soothing places of support. If they disagree with you, you'll never know because they make you feel so non-judged, and they're great negotiators. They understand both sides of the coin really, really well. Their triggers are, because they can be kind of passive and they want to kind of watch how everything shakes out to avoid any unnecessary conflict. Their triggers are being pressured to make decisions more quickly than they want to, being rushed, condescension and pretension. They are really triggered by small conflicts, like little petty conflicts, and they are very frightened by loud and confrontational behavior, okay? So understanding your triggers is key to drawing those boundaries. Understanding your priorities is key to drawing those boundaries. Some things that dominant type 9s can do to help themselves when they've reached capacity is clearly define roles and positions at work, in relationships. They need to have DTRs, define the relationship. Who am I and what am I to you? Okay, what's my job? What's your job? What's my space? What's your space? Okay. Also, they can be prone to like this kind of stalled movement, and so they need help getting active and getting into their bodies. And so encouraging them when you sense a little bit of a stall of your relationship with them, when you sense a little bit of a passive zoning out, when you sense that passive zoning out, encourage them to get up and get moving, and that will help them gain more energy and momentum towards what they're doing. It's usually because they are somehow angry or made to feel uncomfortable. And so that zoning out is a coping mechanism, a defense mechanism that they learned when they were children, how to physically leave their bodies in order to still be okay no matter what's happening in their immediate environment, okay? And so they often get distracted. And so what they have to have is a prepared response for distractions that compete with their priorities, and they have to seek support from those around them. It's so easy for them to go with the flow that when they notice that they're just kind of moving in the direction that everybody else wants to go in, they must say, okay, what's happening? What am I noticing? How am I feeling? What's going on? And again, noticing your triggers, noticing the people and places and things that are the context of your triggers, and saying, okay, how can I engage these people in these places differently? What's necessary? How necessary is it that I sit here and talk to this person? Maybe you're having some conversations at work where someone is pressuring you or triggering you in a way that makes you feel uncomfortable, and you kind of start to do that passive zone out thing. It's important to understand, hey, how long do I have to talk to this person before the conversation is non-essential? You know, how long can I be at this space before I have to move forward? What is an essential and most productive use of my time, my energy, and my attention? So just notice how you feel. And nines really have an opportunity to really pay attention and notice what they truly want and desire, and notice when they start to kind of zone out as an alarm clock for, I don't think I really want to be here. And when you notice that, it's time to start creating some spaces and some conversations where you engage differently. That person's house, that social experience, that water cooler conversation, that lunch, that annual lunch that everybody goes on every year that you really never have any fun at, right? It's time to notice those triggers and then create a self-care plan that includes how you will engage these spaces differently, okay? So I want to pause and mention our second sponsor that is sponsoring our broadcast, the wonderful people at Jinka. I love Jinka. I really do. The website is called ilovejinka.com. I love Jinka. This is a turmeric paste, and I learned this week that they use medical grade roots in this turmeric paste. And so this is a paste of ancient roots and ancient ingredients that have been used to treat inflammation for centuries. Turmeric, cinnamon, nutmeg, ginger, coarse black pepper, Himalayan sea salt, alkaline water, coconut oil. All of this is mixed together in a super packed paste. Tonight I'm drinking it as a tea. You can also drink it as golden milk. Put some in your oatmeal, put some in your in dishes that you're cooking if you want a real aromatic flavor. But this stuff, man, when you ingest this on a regular basis, it will begin to fight inflammation in your body at a microcosmic level, at a microorganic level. Everybody in my house is walking around with slimmer abdominal sections. You know, my allergies are much better when I drink this. My mother-in-law drinks it. My husband drinks it. We all sleep better. We all feel differently in our bodies. This has been known to stop aches and pains, lower people's cholesterol, help people who are dealing with things like diabetes and hypertension, the pains associated with inflammation. Even folks have reported their sight being restored because their eyes were being weakened by the inflammation around their eye parts. Jinka. So listen, if you go to my website, www.daniellefanfair.com, and scroll down, you can actually order Jinka directly from my website, and you get 10% off when you do. I suggest you try this stuff. It's amazing. And the good people at Jinka want to get this in as many bodies as possible. They are trying to fight disease and inflammation, one jar, one body at a time, to keep you functioning and healthy and glowing and living the life that you were destined to live. They want to keep you at your optimal superpower. I love Jinka. So you can go to ilovejinka.com, or you can go to my website and scroll down, and you can see a little form where you can get your own jar of Jinka at a discount. And they have been sponsors of the broadcast since the beginning, and I'm so grateful for you guys. Thank y'all so much. Okay. Now, the last section, the last type in this series, dominant type 1. For those of you who don't know, I am a dominant type 1. And dominant type 1s are, man, they are sources of morality and ethics. They're always teachers or in some kind of moral or philanthropic work. And, they really want to see the world become better. They really believe that they can save the world. They believe it's all their responsibility. And they sense a deep sense of sadness when they see folks living in decisions and in consequences that are unnecessary. That sadness is reflected as anger. And they love to follow the rules. Their process of thinking is, okay, what's good and what's bad? Okay? And, kind of whose fault is it? What's the problem? How can we rectify the problem? How can we work within systems in order to improve the system, to improve life for everybody else? At the end of the day, ones just want to be good. They want to see the perfect world that they know is possible. And they bring a serene order to chaos wherever they go. Now, they can be very critical of themselves and very critical of other people. They have a sense of excellence and duty, and they really hold themselves to a very high and harsh standard. And so if you're in a relationship with a one, and that one is always talking about how things could be better, and it seems like they're always judging and carrying on and complaining, you're getting the leftovers of how we talk to ourselves. So it's important for you, if you're in a relationship with a one, to remind the one that they can let themselves off the hook, that they're already good, and they can kind of relax and give themselves some space to enjoy life and enjoy pleasure, and they're not wrong or bad for doing so. None of the work is being neglected when they take care of themselves, she said to herself. Okay, so there are triggers when they, don't feel like they're making that good impact, when they feel like they may look bad or look like they lack integrity, when they fear that something is happening outside of their control. Their triggers look like harsh criticism. When someone is criticizing a dominant type 1, they take it really hard. When someone does not take personal responsibility for their actions, the dominant type 1 becomes furious. When there's clearly some shared responsibility in the consequences that everybody is experiencing and not everybody is owning it, dominant type 1 is like, you're not gonna apologize? You're gonna just let us all take blame for it and you're not gonna say nothing? Now, another trigger for a dominant type 1 is a double standard. When something is right for somebody, but it's not right for somebody else. But we all equal. We all in this, on this planet together. But if it's okay for you, but it's not okay for me or somebody else, a double standard is a real hot button. And I can say that's very true for me, because I have lots of issues with folks, having a standard for, like women that they don't have for men, or having standards for certain age groups that they don't have for other age groups. I'm like, boo. So another trigger for a dominant type 1 is when someone is just doing wrong, they just are not aware of how their actions are affecting other people. Another one is disregarding the work of the one. They're very hard workers. They're working hard to create some change. And when you don't acknowledge their work and say, hey, I see your work and you're doing a good job, it's a real trigger, especially if you're celebrating other people and you're not acknowledging the work of the one. It's like, everything I did today, you're not going to acknowledge. My feet over here hurting. And then when you don't honor your word, or when you don't follow through, and lastly, abrupt change. Dominant type 1s, you got to ease them into change, because when we say something is going to go a certain way, through a certain system, a certain set of rules, a certain set of steps, we cling to that, we stick to that. We're trying to be good at that. We're trying to be perfect at that. So when you change the system, you change the steps, you change the rules, you throw us all out of whack, okay? So dominant type 1s, they need, when they reach their edges, when they reach their capacity, when they reach their limit, they need some scheduled downtime. And they need to really honor the fact that they've done a lot of work, and the work is not going to suffer when they decide to be still. And it's not going to come at a good time. There's never a good time, so they have to communicate their needs and plan their downtime. They need to hear that they're doing a good job. If they are frustrated or angry, the last thing to tell them is to calm down. The last thing to tell them is that they don't have anything to be angry about. They need their feelings to be validated, their frustrations to be validated, and they need help remembering that they're good, okay? And so, dominant type 1s, you have to understand your triggers. And again, think about the people, the places, and the things that you engage, and decide how you feel about those things, and then engage them differently. If you're in a relationship with somebody who's very critical of you, who's constantly telling you what you need to change about yourself, or constantly pointing out things that aren't, positive or perfect about you, do you really need to be talking to this person every day? Honestly, I mean, even if they have a point, understanding that a trigger for you means that you get angry and then you repress your anger because you don't want to look bad. And repressed anger shows up as things like back spasms and stomach flus and migraine headaches, right? Repressed anger shows up as slamming and sighing and stomping and yelling and snatching things from people, right? So when you understand that these triggers are actually creating real experiences in your life, it's time to assess the essential nature of these people, places, and things that are triggers for you. And say, you know what? I don't have to talk to you. I don't have to go here. It doesn't make me a bad person or an evil person to say, hey, it's some people over there that make me feel bad. It's some folks over there who talk all day long about what they're going to do and they don't keep their word, and it makes me angry. So I don't feel like I should be there. It's not a good investment of my time. I'm engaging those circles differently. One of the things that I remember about, constantly being in the club and party scene is that I would be bored. So I'd immediately start tearing all the ladies down, and I would start talking about their outfits. And I'm very funny, so I was just going hard. I had my friends rolling in the club like I was roasting. But at the end of it, I would feel kind of bad. Like, oh man, I just read all these little girls up and down. They out here just trying to have a good time. They don't know that they're over here being read their rights, And so I said, I'm going to engage the club differently. I'm going to engage this environment differently. And I'm going to choose to change how I, wind down and kick back socially. I started going to concerts and I started hanging out in different ways because I just didn't like who I was and I didn't like how I felt at the end of the night. And the same with critical friends. I'm like, okay, well, I have a rule as a dominant type 1. I don't engage in meaningful conversations over text. Because I'm going to be staying at the phone waiting on you to text me back and tell me I'm not a bad person. I'm going to be paralyzed all night. No. If the conversation is essential and important, then we're going to have to schedule time to talk about it. Our own time. I'm not going to be stuck in text limbo all night long having these, paralytic feelings of incompetence and like I'm a bad person until this person texts me back. Absolutely not. That's a boundary that I've created. So, dominant type 1s, if you resonate with the one or you're in a relationship with the one, encourage them to really be honest and assess how they really feel. And this is the last thing I'll say. Notice how you feel after talking to certain people. Give yourself a pause once you hang up the phone. Give yourself a beat in the car once you actually leave a place and say, was that an energetic exchange that was positive? Do I feel more energy? Do I feel like I have been given life? Or do I feel like, I remember getting off the phone with somebody and feeling literally like my throat was dry. I felt hoarse. I felt deflated. So notice how you're starting to feel in different parts of your body when you engage different people in different places and when you do different things. Your body is full of information about the boundaries that you could be creating to protect your priorities. The last thing I'm going to teach is how to prepare. 8s need to have a prepared forgiveness for people who work and communicate differently than you. 8s are very direct, very, tell it like it is. And so 8s have to prepare forgiveness for folks who communicate and think differently than you. Okay, 9s have to have a prepared response for distractions. It's going to be very easy to allow a distraction to come in and derail you when you clearly communicated a boundary. 1s need to have a prepared grace for yourself and for other people. I understand where you are, and I have all the confidence that God loves you as I leave you there. Okay? So as we move into our days tomorrow, I want you just to think about the things that we've talked about tonight and think about how you feel. And if you don't resonate with the types, that's okay, because we're going to move into the heart triad next Sunday and talk about helpers and achievers and the authentic creatives, right? And then on the next Sunday, we're going to talk about the more cerebral people. These are our researchers, our observers, our investigators. These are our community, the loyal community people, and the enthusiastic, fun-loving, kind of Robin Williams type people. We're going to move into that the following Sunday. Each type has some very essential ways that they can create a culture of thriving success in their lives that begins with saying, hey man, let me be honest with the energy that I'm experiencing and exchanging with these people in these places. So I want to encourage you to go to my website. If you're interested in a session with Farrell, I definitely think you should. Bioenergetic Works is awesome at taking account of the small ailments. She can scan your whole body and then ask you questions about how you're feeling in your body and what you're experiencing. And these little ailments that we experience, these aches and pains and these little kind of these things that we experience from time to time over years, if it goes unchecked, can turn into a bigger problem, a more prolonged disease. Farrell can catch that and help you make adjustments to prevent disease. It really is preventative, futuristic health care. And if you sign up for a session with her and you use my code, which is Fanfair, just my name, Fanfair, you get 10% off of your appointment. If you go to my website and you go to Jenka.com, I love Jenka.com, or you go to www.daniellefanfair.com and you get a jar of Jenka from my website, you get 10% off there as well. Y'all, I'm so excited. I'm so happy, and I want you to utilize both of those services, not just because they sponsor our broadcast, but because they really are increasing and elongating and enriching the days of our lives, okay? Days of our lives. Now, giveaway. So, I am so excited that the sponsors are not just sponsors in word, but they're sponsors in deed. And Bioenergetic Work is sponsoring 2 free giveaways of my inner workbook, Go From Confusion to Clarity. So if you like this Enneagram work, if you're interested in it, this is the workbook that I wish I had when I started this work. It talks about the intelligence centers. This is a section on revisiting your childhood memories and reflecting and choosing a wiser narrative as you reflect. I'm telling you, it's so powerful. Each of the types are broken down in here. The intelligence centers are broken down in here. What it looks like, what your life looks like when you're at stress, some practices for contemplation. So you see there's some type charts in here that you can understand. Anyway, 2 of these books are being given away tonight. The first person that says, I want a workbook in the comments, the first 2 people will get books. The first 2 people that say, I want a workbook in the comments will get books. All right, guys, I'm going to sign off now. I'm so grateful for you guys. Join me next week. We're going to talk about the heart people. We're going to talk about people who, so this week we talked about people who are really motivated by their gut. 8s, 9s, and 1s are doers. They do a lot. Next week, we're going to get into people who are really led by their hearts and really understand and communicate the world with the world around them through their hearts. And so I'm excited to see what you guys think and what you guys experience as we talk about boundaries and what it looks like for them. If you are watching this on YouTube, all the links are below the video, so go to the links below the video. If you're watching this on Instagram Live or Facebook Live, thank you so much for joining me. I appreciate you guys. I've had such a great time with you all, and I hope that this has been helpful to you as you name, know, and contribute your superpowers and your priorities tomorrow at work. Y'all have a great night. Thank you.